Hi guys, welcome back.
Welcome back to Inspired Delusions.
If you're new here, my name is Kayma.
And I'm Olivia.
And we are the co-hosts of your newest favorite podcast.
Yes, or your already favorite podcast if you've been listening. Because if you listen to one, you're going to be hooked.
Yes.
We're so excited today because we have an amazing guest on. This is someone that I have been following personally for probably years now. Persis, I have really, really loved your stuff for a long time. So when we got connected for you to come on the podcast, it felt like a dream come true, very full circle moment.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited to be here, excited to share all the knowledge and wisdom with your audience.
Yes.
Persis, you are on TikTok. You talk a lot about like money mindset, shifting your identity, abundance, how to speak to yourself, how to hype yourself up to receive all these things. So you kind of have your own journey of how you went, you call it from like being broke to being a millionaire.
Yes.
If you want to take us through that story.
Yeah, I would love to. So for me personally, I guess you can say a few years back, during the COVID times, we were all locked down. That's when I started my TikTok journey. I've branched out now. I'm on multiple platforms, but TikTok is my home. That's what I just love the most. I just feel like TikTok is the best platform to have a social media audience on.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I wasn't supposed to be like a manifestation coach. And what I mean by that is I actually have a background and a degree in medical science and surgery. And I had spent about 8 years going down the medical path, and that was my identity. I was, like how they have Bill Nye the Science Guy, I was just Persis the Science Girl. And that was my identity, and that was who I am. And I didn't know myself as anything other than that because from a very young age, I was just very gifted in academia. I was very gifted in science and all that stuff, and it fascinated me. And I wanted to be a doctor, which then turned into a PA, which then turned into like all these different things that you'd get excited about in your journey of academia. And, I ended up graduating with distinction, with honors, with a degree in surgery as a physician assistant. Wow. And I came back home and I graduated during the height of COVID. And I was actually held in the country overseas, like 6 months past my student visa time because we're on lockdown. Yeah. And the whole world has shut down. And so it's like a big thing. And I come home finally, I'm finally able to get home like months and months and months later. And no one wanted to hire a new student that had just graduated because it's not like we had a global pandemic 101 class, Right. I'm not someone that has 5 years of experience already under my belt. I'm a new graduate. I'm looking for my foot in the door. And in the middle of a pandemic when things are closing, it was just, if you will, like without being too dramatic, like a dark night of the soul, or however a lot of people tend to, articulate that cusp of time where things just feel like you've been working towards this threshold forever. And you put all your time, your energy, your everything into it just for it to not pan out. And COVID didn't just go away. It just kind of stuck around for years. And so it was really a difficult period of my life. I mean, relationships, family connections, my career, like so many different, I call them pillars of my life, were just collapsing. Like everything that people rely on for stability and safety and structure, kaput. It was like that scene in Hercules, like back in the 90s on the fat VHS tapes where he goes to the market and the pillars start to tumble down and he just destroys the whole village.
Yes.
That was my life at that time. It was not a fun time. But it's interesting because it diverted me into marrying my neuroscience, with the spirituality and with the manifestation side. And as my life was falling apart, there was a huge part of me that's like, how did I attract this? How did this happen? What is wrong with me? I had like good girl syndrome because I have been like a little bit of a people pleaser and an overperformer, high achiever my whole life, seeking my self-worth through my accomplishments. So anything I do, I'm going to do the best at it. And I'm going to be the one that's the most obsessed and the most into it. And I'm going to give it my all. Because once I put my mind to something, it's going to happen. Like that's just how that is going to happen. And so I went, down this path and I was like, getting into law of attraction, then getting into law of assumption, falling down all the typical rabbit holes that people fall down, and eventually like learning about the law of assumption. You know, there's a big thing on be delusional to be successful.
Yeah.
And I love your podcast and I love your page and I love everything you guys do. But a big part of my thing at that time was I wasn't able to be delusional when my life was in the crapper. Pardon my French. When my life was falling apart, it was really, really difficult for someone with a more type A medical mind, very analytical, very logical, very up in the brain, very cerebral, to be delusional because my brain was working against me at that time. Like I had all this evidence of things falling apart. And so I went to TikTok and I started to marry the science of my medical background with spirituality and manifestation, because I was like, if I can't be delusional to be successful during this period of time, I want to figure out a way to master science and manifestation, because science is always going to work. But for me, being delusional didn't always work because I was coming from such a low state, you know?
Totally.
Now I work with individuals that have done work on themselves. They can be delusional. They can do this. They can do that. But at the beginning of my journey, that was not my thing. It was really hard. And so I started to marry that, and it took off like exponentially. It took off in a really big way, really quickly, because what I realized is that a lot of the top creators were all about be delusional to be successful. And I liked that. But what about the people that couldn't be delusional, that were going through some hard stuff, that were going through some emotionally activating times where their brain was actually wired against them because they were still in that little bit of a, state within themselves. And I mean, that happens all the time. I call that my quarter life crisis. You know what I mean? Like sometimes things just fall apart. And in this instance, it was the biggest Uno reverse the universe could have ever given me. Because once again, I had to have then the ego death of Persis, the science girl. And that was really hard too. And then dealing with things of like, visibility and all this stuff and online hate and all the fun things. It's like, it's such an evolution of time where it's like, now I'm in a space where I've literally alchemized all that pain into power. I've blasted through those limiting beliefs, those subconscious blockages one by one. And month one in my business, I did about $900 of sales after posting for months and months and months and just giving value and free content online, going live, showing people that I am educated. I can do this. Like I am competent. I am capable. Here are the results. I know what I'm doing. And I made $900 my first month. And as soon as I got my first payment of someone coming in to pay me, I was immediately on my calculator being like, how much do I need to make to live, to not have to go back and work again?
Yeah.
I was already doing calculations. I was like, well, I can't live on $900 a month. Maybe I could live on $2,000 a month. Maybe I could live, I could live frugally. I could still live like that. And it was funny because then the next month I did $2,000. And I was like, okay, that's good. And then the next month I did $7,000. And I was like, I could definitely live on this a month. I could do that. And so I started to get really excited. And my story is a story of I hit it quite big, quite fast, because then the month after that was $58,000 in 1 month.
Love to hear it.
Wow.
And the month after that was $103,000.
Wow.
And it was, I tell this story to my personal clients all the time. The day I hit a 6-figure month, my brain chemistry just changed. Like I remember, because I built $1 million business in my parents' living room.
Yeah.
What? Pardon? Excuse me? That isn't something that baby Persis, which is how I refer to her, could have comprehended. But it happened as I started to shift my identity, reprogram my nervous system, reestablish safety, work through those limiting beliefs and subconscious blockages. And now you can say I'm the person on TikTok that teaches, and all the platforms, but teaches people how to really rewire their brain for success. Because guess what? Science is going to work every single time. There's no discrimination of race, religion, background, socioeconomic status. I make jokes with my clients and I'm very cheeky about it that I've not seen you floating recently, which means that gravity works for you, which means that science works for you, which means this law works for you. Glad we sorted that out.
Right.
Like, there isn't this, like, magic, contract that says works for everyone except for Stephanie, except for this one, except for this circumstance. It's about how can you start to shift and get your mind, body, and nervous system around it. And when that happens, it doesn't matter what needs to move, it will move. And it will be removed without you having to try to remove it, because it's just become who you are now. And who you are these incredible, crazy, insane results. It's about normalizing that and bringing every part of you on board with it so it can happen automatically. It should not be something you got to like really work super, super hard for. It probably means it's not integrated yet then, right? But when you get to that point where this is just who I am now, this is just how my audience is, this is just how many people follow me, this is just how many people follow my podcast, this is just how much money our podcast brings in or my business brings in, then it's really, really easy because you've set a new baseline, and that must become factual. That must become your reality. There's no way around it. If it hasn't happened, it just means that hasn't happened.
That's so interesting how you're saying like, oh, to be delusional. That sounded nice to me when I first was realizing that this was an option, but I was so low vibration. And that's so true, because the way that Olivia and I will share it with like our podcast or our audience is that we always say like there's 3 R's, right? You got to recognize what's going on. You got to rewire your mind. You got to regulate your nervous system. And once you get those 3 locked down, then you're able to go on and be delusional. And then you can like have a good time because like you already know who you are within, right? Like your self-concept is already higher. You normalize these big ideas.
Right. Of course, 100%. And I think it was beautiful. Like for me, I feel like I just rode the wave of momentum. It was almost like the law of multiplication with me, that a lot of my biggest blockages were just in my self-concept, in my self-worth, in my perfectionism, in my working and performing for that next situation, where a big part of things had just become my identity, right? And sometimes, you can also hit it very big and still feel not good enough. And that's a whole other set of topics and situations, because I know that there was a part of me that struggled with that as well. Like I blasted through things, but then at the top, I started to assign my worth to it, to how do I maintain it? How do I keep it going? Is it going to run out? What's going to happen with it? Because when you don't make anything is great. You don't have anything to compare it to. But then when you make things, there's also pressure within an audience, a business, whatever it might be, even within your career, to maintain, uphold, and expand. Especially coming, me and my audience, they resonate a lot with being very high achievers, and that's a part of their identity. And being so hungry and being so driven is a personality characteristic that some people, they just like big goals. They want to accomplish big things. Like I saw you did your TV appearance and I was like, that's so cool. You know what I mean? Like that's a big thing. And it's like, being in those situations where they have desires that are beyond the normal, whatever normal is. They just have bigger goals, bigger dreams, bigger desires. They know that they're meant for more, but their life doesn't match up with what they know, because they have these things that are almost like energetic blockers, and it's like, I tell my clients, once again, in a very funny, cheeky way, I'm like, as soon as we dissolve, money's hard to make, or something like that. I'm just choosing a random one. It's like, look at what's behind curtain number 1. And it's like all this pile of money that's been like sitting there and waiting for you to become that person to unlock it. I say a lot of the times manifestation is like a hose that has a bunch of kinks in it. And the hose is turned up. It's on. It's properly on, but it's only dripping out. And it's dripping out because you have these kinks that are in the hose that are these subconscious blockages, that are the nervous system dysregulation. And as soon as you unkink the hose, you unkink the money, you unkink the love, and it just gets to blast you in the face, but that's the process that really allows you to always see results. Because I feel like this is like the key to life. Like imagine somebody comes to you and says, you can have whatever you want. You just got to get the mind, the body, the nervous system around it. You're like, hallelujah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me more, because it will work. You just got to learn how to work it.
That's really good. Abraham Hicks kind of talks about that too, of like, as soon as we ask for something, or, you know, our natural state is abundance and receiving everything we want, but we just have those blocks that's holding it back. And as soon as we get rid of those, everything kind of flows to us naturally. That's really, really beautiful. I love that hose analogy.
Yeah.
I will definitely be using that.
I love it.
So what's advice on how we can unkink these hose, like these blockages? Like what's something tangible that somebody today could start doing?
Yeah, I can give a few analogies. I help people with love. I help people with money, business, all the things. So I'll try to encompass a few things, because I want people to understand on your podcast that like, this isn't just about money. You could literally do this for anything. You know, it's universal law. You having a love life that isn't thriving, use this for that also.
Yeah.
And you'll come back to this podcast and you'll be like, hey, it worked. I'll be like, yeah, I know. That's amazing. I love that for you. But okay, so a few tangible things. This is my personal belief. And this is what, after, you know, reading every self-help and development book under the sun, studying psychology, neuroscience, surgery, human behavior, like I have a very unique, interesting professional educational background that allows me to diagnose things very easy, because that was supposed to be my job. I was supposed to be down that, but now I'm Persis, the manifestation wizard, I guess you could say. But I will say that everything falls into two buckets, two brackets, if you will. One is self-concept, and then the other thing is what I like to call the concept of desire. So self-concept, for anyone that might not be super well-versed or just wants maybe my definition of it, it's how I see myself, right? So, but I don't want to know how I see myself in a positive way, because that's already positively impacting my life. I want to know how do I see myself in a negative capacity as it pertains to the desire. So if we're going to stick to money for an example, what are your I am statements that are in a negative direction as it pertains to money? And that'll be different than what are my negative statements of I am in a negative direction, right? As it pertains to love and calling in your husband in the next 90 days, right? And that'll be different to your business blowing up, your podcast blowing up, your health, you know, restoring your health, having your dream body, because your self-concept is different for different areas of life. I can believe I'm good enough for money, but not good enough for love, because men have rejected me, women have rejected me, men have lied, women have cheated, whatever it is. We all have reasonings that the brain defaults to when certain areas of our life don't go well. So the other bracket that is different than that is the concept of desire, which is how do I see, I call it the shiny object, the big ticket item that I want, because we don't want to manifest small things. We want to manifest big things, big ticket items. Mm-hmm. We want the big bear at the fair. We don't want the small little keychain to go home with. We want the big thing. Yeah. And so when it comes to that type of scenario, what are your beliefs in a negative direction about the thing you want? So if it's money, money is hard to make, right? If it's weight loss is hard. No matter what I do with my body, I can't get it to change, right? Money is evil. Women are users. Men are users. Men lie. Women cheat. Men steal. This is all about men or women or whatever, insert desire here, obviously, versus an I am not good enough. So one is a I am, one is a desire-based situation. So these are the two buckets, the two brackets that constitute 99.999% of these blockages to unkink the hose in any aspect of life. So the first thing that I would have people do as a tangible exercise is do a little bit of a brain dump, which is if I were to ask you, what are the reasons that you can't have $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 months in your business, in your career, get that promotion, get that raise, get that man, get that woman, get that body, where does your brain say, not for me. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. I'm not chosen. I'm not special, I'm not wanted, I'm not important. Those are a lot of common blockages I see people have, right? Those are their I am self-concept gaps. And then depending on where they are on the other side, they might see other blocks around the specific desire itself. I always tell people it's got to be self-concept 100% of the time right in the beginning. So whatever you got on that list, if your self-concept is below an 8 out of 10, and 1 is like I'm at ground zero, and 10 is like I've healed all this stuff on this list, where do you sit? You got to be doing self-concept 100% of the time, because 95% of our reality is self-concept. That is how your reality is created, because you will always be matched to circumstances that prove those stories to be true. I'm willing to bet people right now do this exercise. They'll be like, yep, I can see this event came to me. And then what did it make me feel? Like I wasn't good enough. Check. I'm always attracting people, places, and circumstances that validate that story that I've got, these stories that I've got in a negative direction. And we'll always attract them. And so really, I feel like this process is a unlearning and relearning. It's reintegrating who you really are and who you've always been at your core. Because it's not like when you were born with this story. You didn't come out of your mother's womb with this story. We didn't your mother didn't birth you and then put you on a table and be like, perform for me, baby. Earn your worth, earn your deservingness, earn this money. You were born innately worthy, wanted, chosen, good enough, all these things. But then life happened and you unlearned that and you resubscribed to a pattern that was what you logically concluded, right? So someone might go through a breakup. Two identical people could go through a breakup. One will make it mean, I'm not good enough. I'm meant to be alone. I'm not chosen. I'm not wanted. I'm not enough. The other might be, you know what? This is really unfortunate. I really like this person. This person betrayed me maybe in some way, or it just didn't work out. And that hurts me a lot. But I know that I'm a good person. I know that I have good things to offer. And even though I feel like dirt right now, I know that I am still good enough. It's just not going to be with this person. And I'm fine with that. And you're allowed to validate the negative feelings, but without degrading yourself in the process. And what I see is a lot of people that have low self-esteem, their brain always defaults to blaming them. And people with high self-esteem, their default is always to blame the opposite party. So if I have high self-esteem and I break up with someone or get broken up with, it'll always be men are bad, women are bad, men are non-committal, men are pigs, women are whatever. Insert situations here, right? Money is bad. I don't want to be a bad person. Money is evil. This is the problem. When I feel good about myself, the brain still needs something to blame. The brain needs something to rationalize. Why did I not get insert big ticket item here? Why did I not get it? I need to understand it because I need to be able to prevent further disappointment. So I need something to blame, and someone's going to get blamed, and it's either going to be me or it's either going to be it. Hence our self-concept and concept of desire. And so I could go on with a lot of the neuroscience of this. I'm already going off on tangents, but tangible things to unkink the hose is to first have awareness of where you're kinking the hose, because that has to be first to unkink it. I tell people all the time, an I'm not good enough wound can't be solved with an I am worthy wound. An I am worthy wound has to be solved with an I am worthy solution. You can't put the worthy in the good enough. You can't put the good enough in the wanted. You can't put the wanted in the chosen. You can't put the chosen in the special. These are separate scenarios. It's kind of like a block game. The star has to go in the star hole. The square has to go in the square hole. The circle has to go in the circle hole. And you can't mix it. And so in this scenario, I have kind of created manifestation almost in a methodical, mechanical process, like a very systematic, once again, cerebral approach with my background. Yeah. And it's like, you got to understand where you're kinking it. Then when you know where you're kind of screwing the pooch, so to speak, you know how to fix it, you know how to solve it, you know how to oppose it, you know how to re-regulate and recenter new meanings, and also making peace with the fact, okay, I defaulted to I'm not good enough when I got broken up with, or I did the breaking up, right? Because sometimes we can even internalize abandonment when we leave, because we say, why didn't you improve? Right? You could have been with me. You chose to not improve yourself, and therefore I still feel like I'm not good enough. I still feel like I'm not chosen. I still feel like I'm not special. And so, you know, it's all about how brain processes information, and realizing that you're not wrong for how your brain logic minded this situation, but we are responsible for unkinking the hose and coming back to normalized, centered, neutral ground. I tell people, you don't even need to go from super negative to super positive, but go from negative to neutral. That can even be such a huge thing, because the problem is so many people have momentum in the negative direction, going down a specific path for a period of time. First, you got to slow down the train. Then you got to get off the train. Then you got to get on a different train. You can't be on a train going 80 miles an hour and say, hey, how can I stop it right now? How can I just literally bring this train to a halt in 0.2 seconds? That's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. It's kind of like when people tell me, I feel so much separation, Persis, between me and my desire. It feels so far away. And I'm like, you want to know why? Let me tell you. And I'll play with them. I'll be like, this is what happened. Let's treat manifestation like you're going on a hike. Okay, so imagine that you're walking 1 mile in the eastward direction, is what I'll say it. You're walking 1 mile in the eastward direction. You pause, you reflect, and that's you finding manifestation and all this stuff. You look around, you're like, oh crap, I did not mean to be here. How do I take one giant step back to the beginning so I can just start over? And it's like, well, that's not how you stepped there. Every day you took a step that said, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Men don't choose me. This person rejected me. This client didn't sign up. This person didn't pay. My boss doesn't really like me. This coworker kind of made fun of me. This person rejected me. This person hates my guts. And you walked and you stepped 1 mile in that direction, you know? So it's like, now we have to come back down that path and then go in the opposite direction. And it's like, but you'll be surprised that it doesn't take a long time. Like, that's a big part of my thing, that when you do this work, you will see results within the first 30 days, 60 days. I've had people like myself change my whole life in 90 days, right? Based on my 1% better a day rule, where even if you're at rock bottom zero, I don't want you to try to go from 0 to 100% overnight. I want you to go from 0 to 1%, 1% to 2, 2 to 3. I don't want big things from you. I want 1% better daily for 90 straight days. If you can do that, you're 90% better. And pardon me, but a lot of people aren't even that low. They're not even where I was. They weren't in that Hercules scene. They're not even that low. And so in that type of scenario, it's like, I'm sure a lot of us would like our life to be 90% better. And a big way of understanding, am I on the right path, is also kind of being able to analyze, right? Becoming aware and having a targeted, actualized plan of moving me and stepping me back in the direction I need to go. That's when results happen really, really, really quickly.
That's awesome. You're the queen of analogies, which I love analogies. So these are all really, really good. Okay, so I love that, the brain dump. So we're brain dumping where our current beliefs are. Maybe we kind of are able to pinpoint some of the things that we want to change. Let's say we're focusing on self-concept first, because we're saying that's, you know, takes a big portion of that. So then we're rewiring those beliefs, right?
Yes.
Do you have like favorite ways to rewire your mind? Like obviously, we talk about changing your inner dialogue. We talk about affirmations. We talk about like subliminals, things like that. So I'm just curious, like, do you have your favorite ways to rewire those beliefs?
So I do like affirmations. I do give affirmations to my personal clients, but I always tell them it's not like any affirmation you've done before. Meaning, once again, it's not like trying to go into toxic positivity land where it's like, yeah, I'm a millionaire. There's 6 figures in the bank. Yeah, it's great. Life is wonderful,
Yeah.
as it's burning down. And so, first of all, here's another analogy that you guys or your audience might really like as well. There was an analogy that went viral a long time ago. I don't know, you might have seen it or were on the live or not, but it was my Monsters Inc. analogy. So we've all probably seen Monsters Inc. It's an amazing movie. Me and my bro watched it recently. But you know that little card key where you swipe it and it brings you that specific door to go into that specific reality to scare that specific child.
Yeah.
I like to think of that for identity work, which is we are always projecting a certain energy based on the positive beliefs we have and the negative beliefs we have. And the positive beliefs are magnets and the negative beliefs are magnets. And when you combine both of them together, you get the reality that you're a current match to right now. So you're a current match to this reality. But if you are a big achiever, you have big desires, big ticket goals, you want the next reality, not this one, right? And so identifying those specific blockages of where you're kinking up the hose in any area of your life and shifting it into the state that you want it to be is what reprograms your door key to bring down the door of your new reality instead. So right now, your current reality is a reflection of the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the energy of the action you take, which is, am I expecting change or am I expecting what's been normal for me, right? Am I expecting that what I'm doing is going to work or not work? I've tried so many things, it's not going to work, type of energy. And we start to reprogram the mind, reprogram the beliefs, the emotions. We get a new card key. And think of it like our state of being unlocks the door into that parallel reality where you have the money, you have the man, you have the woman, you have the success, you have the 6 and 7 figure business. You're on Good Morning America, whatever the goal is. And so what I like to do for rewiring is I will do affirmations with my clients, but I'll tell them, I don't want you to do it from a place of separation from the desire. I want you to do it from a place of, how would I feel if this was my truth? How much more relaxed would I feel? It's almost like I want you to contemplate that new reality. I want you to treat this like a science experiment with Persis, the science girl. And I want you to contemplate, how much more relieved would you feel if you had that? How much more validated would you feel if you had that? What would you allow yourself to believe about yourself that you're not allowing yourself to believe right now? Where would you go mentally? What would be the confidence that you would show up in your life with if you had those sales already coming in? You had an audience that loved you, adored you, saw you as the bee's knees and everything else. You had a man that was absolutely head over heels in love with you. You had that incredible body. What would you where would you go? Where would you allow yourself to finally go mentally with your validation, your thoughts, your beliefs, and how you show up? You'd expect change. You'd expect yourself to get this. You'd expect this man to want you. You'd expect this person to text you back. You'd expect these people to want you, to adore you, to choose you, to be with you, whatever it is. You'd expect the money to come. You'd expect the brand opportunities. You'd expect the clients, because that's just who you are now. And so I love affirmations from a place that eliminates some of the pressure and separation by playing into contemplation. And playing into, okay, let's go there. How does that feel? Permeating that, saturating that in the mind and the body and the nervous system, and breathing into, where does your body maybe constrict? Where does it maybe not feel safe to have something that's so good, right? And working through triggers, like you guys said in one of your R's, to regulate, working with those triggers so that that can become more true. And eventually what we're shooting for is, you say that affirmation and it feels like a fact. It feels like, yeah, this is who I am. This is how I think. This is how life works out for me. And that's when you know you've really formed an assumption. An assumption is the sky is blue, the grass is green. I know this whether it's 9 a.m., 12 p.m., or 12 a.m. midnight. I know it even when there's conflicting evidence, when the sky is black, when the grass is toaster brown, and I'm in Detroit, Michigan, and it's super, like cloudy and muddy outside, and the grass hasn't been getting the type of sunlight that it needs. Like, I know it in all circumstances, even if something is against me.
Yeah.
Right. So I do love affirming. I do love mirror work. When I'm on my mirror work game, man, I'm just glowing. You can just see it within me. And I think that it's so powerful to wake up in the morning or any time in your day, look yourself in the eye and say those beautiful affirmations to yourself. A lot of times your psyche needs validation in ways that you have not allowed it to have its whole life. And it's very therapeutic. It's very healing. And healing these traumas is what gets you the life you want. So it's going to be a little bit emotional. It might feel fake. It might feel delusional. It might feel superficial. It might feel rehearsed. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's literally nobody judging you in your bathroom.
Right.
There's literally nobody judging you at all. It's like the fact that it even feels so foreign to give yourself that validation is probably proof you really need it. The fact that it feels delusional to think good about you, we got some work to do there.
Yeah.
Because that should be how your brain naturally functions. And that's a number one sign that you're probably down a very self-critical path that needs a lot of self-concept work, right? And then I love affirmation tapes at night. I love it. I'm not going to go to sleep without my affirmation tape on. You meaning to tell me I'm just going to sleep in silence and not get 8 hours of saturation in my brain?
I know. It's a cheat code.
It doesn't even make any sense to me. But yeah, these are the things that some of the things that I enjoy doing. And I tell my clients as well.
Love that.
Yeah, we do love that. We definitely say, well, how you're saying, like with the affirmations or the mirror work, being intentional with it and feeling those feelings in itself, it's kind of law of assumption, right? It's the act of that. It's the act of living in the end and saying these things and getting excited and holding on to those emotions until one day it's real.
I feel like a lot of people say that they don't want to do that because it feels like they're being fake or it feels like they're like not telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, well, babe, you just have to keep doing it until it starts to feel normal.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to just chime in for that, which might be really relieving for even your audience, is do you know the number one thing people tell me? They're like, I'll stop because it just felt fake. I'm like, that's a sign it's working though. Yeah. So many people don't realize that when it feels off, it's actually working. That's kind of like you being in a scenario where you take a car ride from Florida to California, and every time it feels off, like manifestation wise, I'm just paralleling the car ride with that. Like every time it feels off, you just stop the car and turn it off. Like, and you just sit there. Yeah. It's like, what happens if you're allowed to feel off, but just keep going?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean something is off. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It means that you're going through the process of untangling the brain. The brain is the most intelligent part of your body. It knows everything. Knows your thoughts, knows your emotions, knows your deepest insecurities, knows how you've been wounded, how you've been hurt, all the things. It knows everything. You're not going to pull the wool over your brain's eyes, right? And so of course it's going to feel off because it's like, but you told me we weren't good enough. But you said money was hard to make. But you said I'm not successful. And what if your resistance is the baby part of you, like how I said baby Persis? What if it's the baby part of you and coming to you and being like, I don't know which one you want. Do you want this reality? Do you want this reality? Like work with the inner child and get the brain on board, because your brain wants you to succeed, but not at the cost of your safety. It doesn't feel safe to believe something so good when life has given you reasons for it to not be that way. But you got to be able to say, I got the not good things because I had the not good story from the brain dump. You got to be able to 1 + 1 = 2 that and be like, okay, well, then it makes a lot of logical sense that if I go all in on the other side of it, something's got to change because the way I've been doing it has not been getting me the results I want.
Right.
So I got to try something different. If this way would have worked, it would have worked by now. You know, it's not going to one day like just fall from the sky and bop you on the head like an apple falling from a tree. We got to be willing to change how we do it. And what happens if that's just your brain saying, listen, just quick little meeting. You've told me I'm not good enough for the past 20 years. You're telling me that I'm good enough. It feels nice. It's all right. You know, it feels good, feels different. But what about this? Do you want me to keep creating this? Or do we want this now? And it's your brain coming to you as a counsel. Work with the brain. Work with the inner child. Work with the nervous system because you're so close to what you want. And I wish just more people had that education. I wish they knew that. I wish they understood that feeling delusional, feeling fake, feeling rehearsed, feeling superficial is not necessarily a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're telling your brain something it doesn't believe yet.
Yeah.
I don't want you to believe it right now, but I want you to gain familiarity with it.
Right.
Familiarity with it is a really good way to bring the nervous system on board because what is familiar becomes what's our defaulted pattern.
Right.
The thing is, what is your default is in the wrong direction. I don't want you to believe. I don't even need you to believe, but I want you to gain familiarity with what you want. And it means you got to break up with what is not serving you anymore. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose in this situation by trying to build familiarity with what you want, right? Building familiarity with that. It's like, I don't even need you to fully like be in the end, but how can we start to be in a scenario where it's like, I become more familiar with the abundance than I do the lack. I become more familiar with all the places in my life that I am loved than where I'm not. Because my brain will always give me evidence of what I believe. It's just giving me the wrong evidence. And I'm saying, see, they don't love me. See, but it's like, okay, but who does? Let's conflict it. Let's argue for the other end of the stick if we're going to do Abraham Hicks. How can you tell me what are the areas that is true? It might not be in love or it might not be in money or business, but if someone were to go down an angle of I'm not good enough, okay, well, where you are good enough? My mom, my dad, my brother, my pet, maybe my animal, my dog, my cat, my goldfish, my neighbor, my boss, my best friend, my group of friends, my coworkers. And it's like, can you imagine, you could actually probably name 10 different ways you are good enough, you are chosen, you are wanted, you are special. But the brain is so, I'm not good enough because I don't have it in this one area. But it's not even seeing the full picture. It's like looking through a keyhole and then being shocked when you're able to actually unlock the door, like how we did with our Monsters Inc. analogy. It's like there's so much more to the picture. How can you even argue for the other end of the stick would be a really good tangible exercise for your people because you have a lot more evidence that things are working out than they're not. But your brain is saying because it's not in this manner, this is the belief. And it needs something to blame. The brain needs something to blame. How can you let that off the hook? You know what I mean? How can you free yourself from that? Because if you go based on external evidence from the past, you'll only ever regurgitate the past in the present and in the future. Something's gotta go for something else to come in. I don't know any millionaires that hung on to, I'm not good enough, money is hard, money is this, money is that, and then somehow magically have 8 figures in their bank account.
Right.
The cost of one is the other. I don't know people that got to keep men are pigs and then just have a thriving love life. It's like the reality always brings them what they believe. The women that say all men are cheaters, they only get those men.
Yeah.
They don't get anyone else because that's the truth in their reality. And so, yeah, anyway, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent there, but hopefully that's helpful.
No, that was so
this
helpful.
is so good.
Yeah, that's so good. We always talk about how our brain is always going to prove our beliefs correct. So if you have, negative beliefs, even if, like you're saying, even if most of your life is good, most of your life is positive, your brain is going to lock in and focus on the 10% that's negative. So that's this is very like validating because we look up to you so much. So it's like a lot of the stuff that we also believe and say is aligned with what you're saying. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed with all of the analogies that you're sharing. Like those are really, really good to kind of help give examples. Like I love the car analogy because it's like, okay, the destination is New York. We're going there. We're going closer and closer every day. You're not just gonna in the middle of it, like look around and be like pissed that you're not in New York. It's like you're on the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're just driving to New York and every time you're like, oh my gosh, I hit a pothole. Let me stop the car and turn it off. Like we're going to take a lot longer to get to New York. We're going to take really a lot longer to get to where we want to go. It's like we got to be able to say, can I keep stepping? Can I keep driving in the right direction? Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels fake, even if it feels delusional, superficial, rehearsed, whatever it might be, can I do it despite how I feel and despite what I see outside of me? If I was to say there's two keys is can you do it despite how you feel? Can you do it despite what's outside of you? And I use a fitness analogy for this where I tell people it's like if I want to lose 100 pounds, I want to lose a big amount of weight, right? Do I have to go to the gym even if my boss pissed me off today? Yeah. Do I have to go to the gym even if I feel fat and out of place and not like a healthy person because that's not my identity? Yeah.
Right.
Do I have to go to the gym even if somebody broke up with me, even if someone cut me off on the road and gave me the bird, even if I'm sore, even if I don't feel like it? Yeah. It's like, can I do it though, despite how I feel and despite what I see? Because I can't be 100 pounds overweight and go to the gym and be like, why am I not 70 pounds lighter? It's like that's just not the way that's going to work. If I can do it despite what I see, knowing my big picture, knowing I have a targeted plan and approach to tackle that, right? Because that's what causes momentum and that's what causes quantum leaps. And can I show up even if I'm feeling sad, even if I'm feeling discouraged, even if I'm feeling like I'm separated from it, even if I'm not feeling like hot stuff right now? Can I do that regardless? It's kind of like an elite athlete mindset. It's like that 1% mindset. The real ability to achieve success in any aspect of your life, love, money, business, anything, is can I do it under all conditions, whether the cards are stacked against me or for me? Because it's delusional, but not bad to be like, yeah, everything's just going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. And I'm always going to be motivated and everything's always going to be great. I mean, you'll get there, eventually. But in the beginning, that probably won't be your journey. But if you're going to tap out then, you're not going to get the access to what's on the other side of it, right? If some of these greats tapped out when they got knocked out or when they got, written off or when they got hated on or when they lost some money or made a bad decision, they would have never struck gold.
You have to like hold like discipline and or integrity for yourself in order to push.
You got to
especially
know
like,
the bigger picture and your why.
Yeah, the why and the bigger picture. Totally.
Are there any like non-negotiables that you are doing during your kind of self-concept glow up, or like things that you do right now or things you tell your clients that like every day you're like, I know this makes me the 1% better?
A big part of, calculated, targeted approach, which is what I'm kind of really known for, is I have like a rating scale and a rating system. And I tell people that on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being ground zero and 10 being I've healed all the stuff that we found in this brain dumping exercise and it doesn't trigger me anymore. That's the 10. The 10 is not, I think perfectly always, and I never have an intrusive thought, and I never doubt myself, and I never have a bad feeling. It's, can I be met with the opposite that would have sent me down a rabbit hole? And can I hold a different identity, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you never have a bad day. It doesn't mean that you never self-doubt. I self-doubt, but I still manifest what I want. Because there's a difference between doubting and sitting in it and using it to validate why things can't or won't work for you, using it to maybe victimize yourself, using it to maybe victimize the process or validate why the other thing isn't doable. And there's a difference between I'm having a thought, but I understand my greater picture. I understand my brain is just trying to keep me safe. I'm going to choose what I want, not what's familiar. Because I know choosing what I want is going to build the familiarity to where my brain will eventually default here. I tell people all the time, I'm like, continue to bounce yourself back in until you don't need to bounce yourself back in, because that just becomes who you are now. Yeah. This is how you think. This is how you feel. This is how you see things. Like baby Persis can't perceive current Persis. But I wasn't also trying to set a super unrealistic thing. I was just trying to work towards the next blockage on the list. So that's a big thing in the self-concept journey is, how can I knock down the dominoes one at a time and become obsessed with the process that creates results, not the result. I didn't get $1 million by focusing on $1 million. I didn't even believe that was possible. My family and I respectfully have come from a background where sometimes we've had some money, and then a lot of the other times we were not that well off. We were having incomes that were on the poverty level. Yeah. And it's like, I wasn't supposed to make this type of money. If you think that that was supposed to be my life, that is so sadly mistaken. Let me correct you right now before your brain goes off on a spiral, because that was not supposed to be my life. I'm Persis the medical girl. I'm not supposed to have this, but I was able to access it when I was able to become obsessed with the process that creates results. I obsessed over that, and then money came. People came, connections came, love came, worthiness, like all that stuff that I was looking for came when I was obsessed of the process that created the results. And I tell people all the time, I love your goals and you're going to get all of them as soon as you can knock all this down. If they're dominoes, you got to be able to knock all these dominoes down. And week after week, your goal is to take whatever your self-concept rating is and make every day count. So if you're at like a 4 out of 10, that's your rating approximately. Then I tell people your goal is to make that 4 into a 4.5, that 4.5 into a 5, that 5 to a 6, 6 to a 7, 7 to an 8, 8 to a 9. Your goal is to climb the scale. The more you climb the scale, the more your reality changes. If you're not happy with your reality, keep climbing the scale. Because as you climb the scale, reality improves. Yep. But I tell people, I said, you can't be mad at your reality if you're at a 5 out of 10. It means you got work to do. Do that work, climb up that scale, and see how all the things that you're worried about go away. Naturally. I mean, that sounds delusional, but that is how it works. How can you have a 9 out of 10 self-concept and have a 2 out of 10 life? Man, you should write a book and come on the podcast and explain that, because that doesn't work. That math isn't mathing. You must be floating. You must be the one that defies quantum physics and gravity. When you have a 9 out of 10 self-concept, you must have a 9 out of 10 life. Let that be your motivator. What's your number? And how can I make every day count to move up that scale? That's what creates very calculated, quantum leaping type of goals, because you have something so tangible to ground into. It's like, yeah, I'm a 4. Now I'm going to take that to a 4.5. And you have a mission and you have a purpose of what to do, which I feel a lot of the manifestation community lacks, is they don't have a lot of grounding into a system or a process that can help them leap faster. It is a lot of the airy fairy stuff, and that is great, and it does still get results, don't get me wrong. But when you have a very targeted, calculated, like pinpoint way to tackle this, you make leaps really, really quickly, because you know exactly what to work on, you know exactly what to do, you know exactly how to do it, you know exactly what to do when you go off the tracks, and you know your rating, you know the goal, you know what you're working towards. So you have a lot of the things that provide the safety net of tangibility and structure that many lack in this community.
Yeah, so good. The world is a mirror. The world is a mirror. It's
Yeah,
always going to reflect back to you your self-concept. We can talk
always.
about that. Always. So good. Well,
We will put all of Persis's information in the
Yes.
show notes, so you'll be able to go and follow her and check
yeah,
out what she's doing. This was such an amazing conversation, and
so good.
it's nice to know that everything always points back to self-concept, and it's so easy to lock in. It's so easy to make these changes. There's so much evidence and proof everywhere. Your story alone, like, that's amazing. Like, the jump from $900 to $100K 4 months later is so impressive. Thank you for coming on. Like, I feel like this was like a masterclass
No, literally.
for all our listeners.
It really was.
I had to bring out the good stuff. I had to get in my bag for it. So I'm glad.
Persis, is there anything else that you want to, real quickly, if you wanted to share like how people could find you, we'll also put in the show notes, but if you want to share, and if you wanted to have any closing remarks or to give anyone any last minute advice,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Not a problem. So I am on all the social media platforms. So YouTube, Instagram. I do have a Facebook group as well as TikTok. I will say I'm trying to get my Instagram to have a little bit more love over there. So I'm sharing a lot of client results, success stories. You'll see a lot of my testimonials, as well as on YouTube. You'll find a playlist that says the Success Story Hall of Fame, where there are like 70 plus hour-long interviews of people doing crazy, crazy things in my world, like manifesting 7 figures in 30 days, 5 figures in a week, all these crazy things, manifesting love, health, healing, all the fun things. And it's all things, that I love to do. I literally got off a client call today, by the way, just a little shout out to my girl. I'm not going to say her name, but she'll feel happy that she was shouted out. We were doing some money work in her business. She did 150K in 2 weeks.
Wow. Let's go.
Wow.
Excuse me? And I was like teasing her. I was like, who's your coach? I want to know about her. I was like, holy moly. I was like, I was like Beyonce's like feeling myself. I felt like that was the theme of that song. I was like, yes. I am good. I am good.
You're like, I did that.
I did that. But no, it's amazing. And I would love to see you guys around over there on that, on my socials, and to find me and understand, like, if I could give you one piece of advice, is that every reality is accessible right now. I had the privilege and the honor to even work with the legendary Dr. Joe Dispenza. I call him one of my husbands because I have
so do we.
Exactly. Doesn't everybody? And I had the privilege of being in his space. And, he said something among many things that was very profound for me. And that was that we are only seeing 0.0000001% of reality at any given point in time. Mm-hmm. And that's because the other 99.99999% is the quantum field. And that every reality is accessible. Use this as a challenge to be like, I want to see what that crazy girl Persis has up her sleeve. I want to see if she knows what she's talking about. And come back with an amazing result for them, for me, for us to celebrate. Because I promise you, every reality is accessible. I just need you to work the work. Because the work works, it needs working. And that's your thing. If you want to get out of it, staying stuck is hard. Change is also hard. Let's normalize being able to conquer our hards in a way that takes us forward. We can't complain about a reality we don't want and then sit in the crap. We can't do that. Let's learn how to conquer our hards and realize we're meant for big things, but we can conquer these hards in a way that takes us forward, not in a way that validates our struggle and keeps us stuck. Because whether we do this work now or 5 years from now, when we have more limiting beliefs and more evidence of it, the work is the work and the work needs doing.
Yeah.
So now is as good a time as any to start that process. You will thank yourself a million times over because you don't need to understand the how. Don't even think about that. Knock the dominoes down. Understand your big picture, understand your whys, understand the kinks, begin to move through them. Follow all of us. We give out a lot of free game, we give out a lot of free gold. Mm-hmm. And then there's always ways to work with for those who want to go further than that. But there is no way you do this work and it doesn't work. That should feel comforting and validating. There is no way you can do it and it doesn't work. You can't have a 9 out of 10 self-concept and have a 2 out of 10 reality. You should really write the book then. It can't work that way. And so you must understand that when you shift, everything will shift. Use that as something to ground into during the times it doesn't feel so sexy.
So good. I love conquering your hards. That's really
conquering the hards. We're meant to do hard things. We have an ability for it. When did we start to normalize just like not going after the hards? Do you know how many people come to me? It's hard. So what? Do you want it or do you not?
Right. I'm like,
you have to have an access of an abundant life for the rest of your life, but it's hard. Okay. And staying stuck is easy.
Right.
Seeing everybody else win is easy. That's easy for you. That's not easy for me. That's hard. And so it's like, conquer your hards. You can do hard things. You haven't challenged yourself to do it. Challenge yourself to conquer your hards. You have more gas in the tank than you think. Oh. I assure you of that. You got more gas in the tank than you think. You're underselling yourself. You can conquer that hard. You got to make a decision to. Period. You got to make a decision. There's only plan A. There is no plan B. You think I got 7 figures by having a plan B? No, I burned the boats.
Burn the boats.
Burn the boats.
Yes,
literally.
I didn't get that with that type of, but it's hard. Yeah, it was. It was so hard, but it was so worth it. You can do hard things. Come on now.
So worth it. Oh, that was so good. I hope you guys stayed to the end and got that amazing piece of advice. So Persis, thank you so much. But thank you everyone for listening. We love you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, thank you. Bye guys.
Bye guys.